Thanks, Lotus Juice. I'm gonna need that since... Now, because I streamed this game, the playtime is exaggerated, but make no mistake, P5R is a 120-hour-long game, and after letting my thoughts cool on it, I'm ready to talk about it. Now, the Persona content currently on my channel is somewhat limited, and I know I pinned a comment on a previous video saying I'd remake it once I beat Royal, but I'm not gonna do that for 3 reasons. First, I don't think it'd be that interesting as me saying I like this palace because they trimmed the fat 7 and only 7 times, as you do not get a pass from me, would get rather boring and repetitive. The second reason is that someone else basically did that video already, although I can't say that channel's name properly to save my life. Go give it a watch again anyways, it's a well put together video. Third, I'd rather make this video because I think it'd be more interesting. For Persona, boss fights weren't a highlight until 4. In 3, aside from the final boss, most of the bosses in that game were straightforward, and any boss that did stand out was for either being pathetically easy or infamously infuriating. Now, I haven't played 1 and 2 yet, unfortunately, so my knowledge is limited to Das Führer! P4 is when the fights had more development, as most of them are shadow versions of your future party members, and each fight is rich with symbolism, build-up, and compelling backstories, and that doesn't change once the grotesque deities are involved. 5 follows in 4's formula, but it gives its villains this attention to detail. Now, the way I am ranking this list is based on how much I feel the fight in Royal improved upon its original iteration, although this is purely subjective and is only my opinion. This is your last chance for spoilers, as I will spoil any and all parts of the narrative at any point in the video, so come back once you beat the game. You hear that, Atlas? I'm telling people to buy your game, so if you could kindly not touch this video in any means, greatly appreciate that, Big A. So with all that out of the way, sit back, kick back, and relax, dear viewer, as we're about to tear off the masks of all the major bosses in Persona 5 Royal. Atlus is by no means a perfect company. Just look at the recent DLC practices, longer localization turnaround times, and Tokyo Mirage Sessions. Well, the newest addition to that list of blunders is the Okumura fight in Royal. Now, I will give Atlus some credit, as they did give the Phantom Thieves a better reason for infiltrating this palace, but that doesn't change the fact that Haru's introduction to the plot is still somehow less natural than both Yoshizawa's and Maruki's. There's also no immediate threat from Okumura this time, unlike the previous palace owners, as you find out in Haru's confidant that his threat is bogus. Sadly, the lame buildup is probably the best part of the fight. The structure hasn't changed in that Okumura still has his lackeys do the fighting for him. He'll summon 4 robots who are no trouble for the first 4 waves, and then the walking dumpster fires appear. Just like in vanilla, you are on a 30-minute timer and will lose if the clock runs out. What went from an inconsequential aspect of the fight turns into your worst nightmare in Royal. The 5th wave is the final wave of robots before you fight the head honcho, but unless you ignored my spoiler warning, you know that this is the real boss battle. In Royal, they added the questionable mechanic of having the robots flee if they survive 2 turns, in which Okumura responds by summoning a fresh batch for you to fight, forcing you to repeat the process until you leave no survivors. There is so much wrong with this specific part of the fight. Each of the unique robots have 2 weaknesses, with the ones for these garbage trucks being Sai and Curse. Joker is the only party member who can have Curse at this point, but if he doesn't have any Ega skills, you need to rely on Sai skills, which only he and Haru can have. What the game wants you to do is use Haru to kill the robots with Mazio, but that doesn't work since Haru's magic isn't that powerful. Sure, she can take down 2 or 3 of them, but this brings us to the next problem with this fight: Okumura himself. If you were only fighting the robots, this wouldn't be too difficult, but Okumura acts as support for them, and no matter what he does, he will always end his turn by using Rakukaja, which is where most of the frustration comes from, as that one robot usually survives on a sliver of HP. But Okumura doesn't get just 1 turn, oh no. The other skill he loves to spam before Rakukaja is Famine Scream, a skill that targets the whole party with medium odds of inflicting hunger. Hunger is almost exclusive to this fight, as it gimps your attack, forcing you to spend turns and resources curing it, wasting precious time, and dragging out the fight for even longer. He'll also use Marakunda or Dekage on you, making it even harder to knock out the robots. Then there's the RNG factor, as Okumura will randomly command the robots to focus a party member. If you didn't deal with a defense drop, then the bootleg Bruce Banners will happily Hulk smash into said target until they don't feel so good, and if that target happens to be Joker, you have to start the fight all over again. I'm pretty sure the only way you can reasonably beat this fight without being over-leveled and, without using the OP DLC is to fuse White Rider as he comes with Triple Down, which is your best offensive option for this fight. Combo this with Marakunda or Charge from another Persona, and Gun Amp, which you get from itemizing White Rider, and then all you can do is pray and spray. After that, the fight is easy as you face a giant robot who is a good part of the fight, as the best way to beat him is to rely on the enhanced technicals or the new showtimes. Then you fight a Mekaharu who doesn't do much.
And then you blow up.
And then you can finally shoot Okumura, who, hilariously enough, in this version has literally 1 HP. I was able to beat this fight on my first attempt, but I did the real challenge since I didn't increase the difficulty to Merciless. The only change between Hard and Merciless is that weaknesses and technicals deal triple damage for both sides. Since only the red robots use elemental attacks, this fight is just easier by increasing the difficulty to Merciless. Let me say that again. By increasing the game's difficulty, this fight becomes easier. If that wasn't proof enough that this fight is fucking stupid, I don't know what is. While the Okumura fight was aggravatingly annoying, the Wakaba fight was just boring. The fight with Cognitive Wakaba is interesting in concept, but the game doesn't do anything with it, as this is the only time you fight a Cognition. In the original, this fight was a decent challenge, but they butchered it in Royal. In the official guidebook for P5R, the developer said that since this fight serves as Futaba's awakening, they wanted to make it an event fight, which I guess meant making a boss fight that plays out like a visual novel? Throughout the fight, Wakaba will say some bullshit, and picking the choice that tells her up yours 3 times essentially gives you the win. I tried to see if you can lose this fight, and you can by choosing the wrong option, but the game gives you a second chance if you somehow pick wrong. The reason I don't like this fight is not just because they vastly oversimplified it, but because the dev team knew this fight was lame, so they used that as their justification to add some what they like to call spice to the Okumura fight. Miss me with that bullshit. Alright, since I clearly need help stretching the video out to 10 minutes, and that's why did the video get donutted? Quick, cue the transition. We can fix this in 5 to 6 seconds. Is this too obvious? You think they'll notice? Oh, hey, it's fixed, but where'd the donut go?
I am the administrator, born of the collective human unconscious. The god of control, Yaldabaoth.
I'm glad this random fight isn't the final boss anymore. Yaldabaoth is a 4-phase fight that has some weird pacing to it. The first phase doesn't matter since it's a forced loss into a doujin, as you watch the Phantom Thieves jerk off Joker's ego for about 10 minutes. After that, you go through a mini dungeon, fight the 4 Archangels, and you eventually get to rematch the cup. Only to realize this phase of the fight is a reskin of the Kamoshida fight, but worse. Right away, you send a member to cut the bloodlines that are healing the Holy Grail, and once you do that, it's an easy fight. I know the Kamoshida fight was good, Atlas, but this was your final boss, and the best you could do was recycle animations?
Okay.
Anyways, after you kick the cup, the real fight begins. As you chip away at Yaldabaoth, he will summon tools throughout the fight that give him more turns, which he'll use to attack, debuff, and use the occasional AoE on the party. The gimmick comes in with the 7 deadly sins, which are all skills that Yalda here makes sure that you know.
You have no means of escape, humans.
Call me biased, but I don't think it's as good as
The Arcana is the means by which all is revealed.
The effects of the sins follow the same order that you fought the palace owners in up to this point. Lust makes a party member lose a turn, Vanity makes its target weak to everything, Gluttony doubles skill cost, Wrath boosts attack but lowers defense, Greed is an attack that inflicts hunger, Envy makes a party member attack you, and Pride sets up a counter. These effects don't impact the fight that much, as all the statuses last for a single turn, and aside from Gluttony and Pride, they'll only affect a single party member. Another gimmick comes in when he's at a third of his health, where he'll summon all 4 tools, charge for 2 turns, then unleash Rays of Control, a colossal AoE almighty attack. The goal is to take out the tools to weaken the blow, which will kill if you don't guard, but so long as you weren't unlucky earlier in the fight, you can just face tank this attack with Futaba's freebie, or use the Phantom Thieves rank 9 endure skills, and chances are he won't have time to charge it up again before you can defeat him. Now, you're probably wondering why I have this fight so low when it was the climax of the original game. My problem with this fight is the build-up, or lack thereof. I know it's common in JRPGs for God to be the final boss out of fucking nowhere, but that's not the case in Persona. All of the previous Persona games gave you enough foreshadowing or build-up to figure out who the final boss is and what their motives are. That just isn't the case with Yaldabaoth. You get a lot of foreshadowing to the fake Igor, which I've expressed my problems with before, and you get a little bit for the Holy Grail, but nothing for Yaldabaoth himself. There's also the fact that his actions make less sense the more you think about it, since Yaldabaoth ultimately wanted to make humanity his slaves, but he helps Joker achieve the opposite, only to screw the rules when he realizes that the real Igor was right, which raises the question of why he even helped Joker in the first place, and do you see why I have a problem with this fight? The music is good, the visuals are grand, and the scale is definitely final boss material, but considering that they didn't change this fight at all from the base game, meaning it still takes a long time to beat, is why I put it at this spot. That said, this moment is still badass as all hell. So that's where the donut went. This is the point of the video where I feel that the fights have become better iterations of their original from the base game. However, the boss whose change I feel was the least memorable is Masayoshi Shido's. There is a lot of build up to this fight, as Shido is the Grand Mastermind. He's the reason Joker was arrested, Futaba's mom was killed, and orchestrated the mental shutdowns. After gaining access to his treasure, the Phantom Thieves whip out the reverse Uno card in the flashiest way possible, go back onto the ship, and finally confront Shido. This fight has 6 phases and is filled with imagery that affirms Shido's belief that he should rule over the masses, whom he sees as insignificant. The first phase has Discount Char Aznable repel all physical damage while constantly buffing and going for Dekaja. Phase 2 has Shido rain down Dyne level skills while resisting all magic attacks. Take him out with physical attacks to trigger Phase 3, which is a pyramid that doesn't put up much of a fight. Then the real fight begins, and our ears are blessed by the glorious vocals to Rivers in the Desert. Phase 4 has Shido turn into Senator Armstrong as he buffs himself with Heat Riser and has some powerful physical attacks including Tyrant's Purge, a move with a high chance to cause instant death. Thankfully, Shido will never use this move against Joker. Phase 5 is more of the same as Shido refuses to die thanks to
Nanomachine, son!
Here, Shido throws everything and the kitchen sink at you as he has every AoE Dyne level skill and Charge in his move list now. Keep chipping away at him, and once Shido is at 1/4 of his health, Phase 6 begins. This is the new content Royal added to the fight as Shido challenges Joker to a one-on-one and gives a grand speech which would be way more intimidating if Shido didn't heal me right after. A lot of people hype up this fight, but it's really nothing special. The shadowy aura is cool, I guess, and Shido does get severe level magic and debilitate. However, Shido can also end the fight by punching himself to death. The presentation still holds up, but the new phase adds very little overall in my eyes. There's also the other problem I have with this fight being the music. I just wish the lyrics had a greater meaning aside from saying that this is the Phantom Thieves' last stand in 10 different ways. Mechanically, this fight is identical to its version in vanilla, but the context behind it is different, and I would say for the better. Akechi, you finally got one over your old man. The Akechi fight is the only non-palace holder fight I have on here, as I feel it's a significant fight worth talking about. The first phase still has you fight two personas buffed by Desperation, which raises their attack but drops their defense. They mostly use physical attacks and will go down easily. Fun fact, if you end this phase with an all-out attack, you just skip the Robin Hood phase. Speedrunners, go nuts with that and save those 3 minutes in your 15+ hour runs! In this phase, Akechi cycles between Kogon, Aegon, and Megaton Raid, but he will use Megidolon when he's under half health. The best part about this fight is how Akechi means it when he says,
I wouldn't give up my chance to massacre you with my own 2 hands.
He attacks Joker, and only Joker in this phase, as you can hear the bloodlust in his voice thanks to Robbie Damon's incredible performance. But once he's beat, the real fight begins against what I like to call Lokechi. Lokechi primarily uses physical attacks like Brave Blade, and when his HP is lowered, he'll whip out the AoE magic, including Maragidine. His status skills include Heatriser, Dekunda, and Dekaja, and when all of that doesn't work, he will stare at Joker and go for Levitain, a powerful almighty skill with his name written all over it. Block here with Joker or you lose. In base P5, I fucking hated Akechi. This egotistical bastard murdered dozens of innocent people, all because he had daddy issues. Royal thankfully fixed Akechi's confidant, as instead of using him as a red herring, he's treated as a real character. Your reward for keeping up with Akechi's confidant is that rank 8 fight. It's not hard, but man is it intense. Akechi doesn't just want to kill Joker, he wants to prove that he is better than him in every way, and I love it. Since Akechi is treated as more than Walmart Light Yagami, this fight feels a lot more personal, as the rivalry between Joker and Akechi is better developed, and you want to show him your dominant hand. Fights that are based on RNG can go one of two ways. They're either easily exploitable or frustratingly difficult. Surprisingly, despite having a casino theme, Sai Nijima's fight is a proper test of skill in the first half, but I'll get to that. Sai's fight also has a lot of build-up, as she is the boss of the first palace you see in the game. Her design is great not just because big titty goth GF, but for the inclusion of a tattoo in her design. Tattoos in Japan scream Yakuza or organized crime. The fight starts out the same with you calling out Sai's cheat by sending a sniper. Haru, sweetie, that's a grenade launcher. I don't know how accurate you are with that. A floof me, I guess. This activates the real fight, and thankfully, that's the last time I say that in this video. The royal version of this fight is radically different, as instead of keeping the original roulette, which didn't impact the fight that much, the new roulette is composed of elements. Whatever element it lands on determines Sai's affinity. She also has a new signature attack in Elemental Punishment, which is a single target spell that takes Sai's element. She still has her physical and gun attacks, both AoE and single target, but she loves dishing out the punishment.
受け希望なんですか?
The gambling aspect doesn't end there, as Sai repels her element and resists everything except for her element's weakness. So if Sai is fire, use Bufu skills. If telekinesis, go for Frey, you get the idea. This retains the gambling aspect, as you have to make sure to cover your weaknesses while targeting hers, keeping you on your toes while giving you a unique experience each time you fight this boss. Sadly, that goes out the window once she's under half health, as the roulette defaults to Almighty, causing Sai to lose her resistances as she only uses physical, gun, or Almighty attacks, drastically dumbing down the fight. I like that they got rid of her using Desperation since it took away from Akechi's unique skill. However, this phase can be cheesed if you set up Tetracards in advance, like I did. Got him!
Oh my god.
Get fucked! The only fights that are left are the first 3 bosses in the game and the final boss. But that's because I think they did a great job introducing Royal's new mechanics. First up, the man who is all about
Cash money.
Kaneshiro. Kaneshiro had no real build-up, but was memorable as the first two-phase boss battle in the game, but they changed its flow in Royal. Instead of fighting Kaneshiro head-on in Phase 1, the new Phase 1 this time has you fight Piggytron first. This thing may look stupid, but it has real firepower behind it as it deals heavy gun damage, has a medium AoE physical attack, and AoE fire attack, meaning if you try to use Yusuke in this fight,
Truly cringeworthy.
and his signature March of the Piggy, a severe almighty AoE, but he can only use it after charging in his super VIP form for a turn. Thankfully, you can avoid this attack by distracting Kaneshiro and sacrificing a flashy item. Distract him for long enough, and you'll begin Phase 2, where Kaneshiro summons guards. These flies resist all attacks, and the bodyguard will tank all hits targeting Kaneshiro. To bypass this, you rely on technicals, as you can inflict the bodyguards and Kaneshiro with any status besides fear, despair, or brainwash. This is fine since An has Dormina, Makoto has Makajama, and Morgana has Pulimpa, meaning that no matter who you bring in this fight, you always have at least one party member who can set up technicals, which I say is good game design. As for Kaneshiro's moves in this fight, he has Tarukaja and Rakukaja reskins, Snap, and Lullaby, a skill that can put the whole party to sleep and is how he goes for technicals. Sleep is dangerous since it can technical from anything, but the same goes for Kaneshiro, which is why I heavily recommend Panther for this fight, as she resists the missiles in the first phase too. This fight is designed to show you how important technicals are, and I love how the game shows you how powerful and dangerous they can be by having you use them to win the fight, and also be on the receiving end of them. Kaneshiro's fight explained the importance of technicals, however, the baton pass mechanic is even more important in Royal, and your sensei for this lesson is Madarame. This fight is up this high, not because of its build-up as the stakes are only personal for Yusuke, but because Madarame clones himself into Power Rangers! And because it's a good fight for showcasing the baton pass mechanic, and it greatly improves over its original iteration. The original boss fight was divisive as players either struggled heavily with it, or they had Matador. Sadly, they nerfed Matador in Royal, but he is patiently waiting for his revenge in the Nocturne remake. The best way I could describe the changes to Madarame's fight was that it was streamlined. He still opens with the 4 paintings as the eyes drain all Aji, Bufu, Zio, and Garu skills, the nose drains Sai, Frey, Koga, and Eiga skills, and the mouth drains all physical damage. Your goal is to work around these affinities or survive long enough until you can use Madarame's ink against him, making him weak to all abilities. The same goes for you when he uses it, so keep your inked party members on guard duty until it wears off. The change in this fight from the original is how Madarame will not respawn the paintings after you down them. Instead, which is great symbolism for how he made copies of the Sayuri. The first wave of copies will consist of a fire, ice, wind, and electric Madarame, which is good news for you as you just happen to have those elements as well, and hopefully Joker fills Morgana's the missing party members element. Your job is to use the baton pass mechanic to take out the clones and chip away at Madarame, who will continue to make more clones if at least one is defeated before his next turn. Keep getting one more, and eventually Madarame hits his limit as he will start making crappy copies that are near death or asleep. This is the game's way of rewarding you for going about the fight correctly, as you get to shoot the copies one by one and then baton pass for heavy damage until Madarame goes down. Much better fight overall. Originally, Kamoshida's fight was considered the best in the game for its mechanics, emotional investment, and proper level of challenge. Well, just like in his fight, I personally believe that Kamoshida has been dethroned. Suguru Kamoshida, what can I say about him that I and others haven't said before? He provoked Ryuji to the point of conflict as an excuse to break his leg. He tried to sleep with An and then went for her best friend when she refused. His shadow was going to execute Morgana, and he got Mishima to leak Joker's criminal record, taking away his chances of having a normal life at Shujin. All of your party at this point have a reason to hate Kamoshida, which makes beating him all the more satisfying. The fight against Kamoshida goes smoothly until he takes care of his libido. You then attack his cup until it breaks, which gives the Phantom Thieves an opportunity to go for an AoE and further the fight. Kamoshida then goes for his gold medal spike, only in Royal, he has Mishima set him up. The cognitive Mishima is constantly showing deference to Kamoshida, and is in a state of perpetual fear because Kamoshida's a jackass. But if that wasn't bad enough, after the attack, Kamoshida then summons the cognitive Suzui, and she's dressed for the occasion, but that occasion is not volleyball. You now target the cognitive Suzui to stop the attack, but the best way to do that would be to down her with her weakness. The question is, what is Suzui weak to? This is Kamoshida's cognition of her, so that means she should be weak to... Yeah, she's weak to everything, because of course Kamoshida would think that. Stop her and you're in the penultimate phase. You send Scholar Mona to get in position while the other 3 Phantom Thieves put the pressure on him. Once you've swung at him enough, you knock off his crown and then you can give him some special training. This fight is still amazing. It's challenging, it has great narrative development, and is honestly one of the best first bosses in a JRPG, but there's still one more boss on this list. What happens when a former Imperial noble is isekai'd into Japan, not as a JoJo, but as your dreamboat therapist? You get the greatest final boss in the whole damn series. I'm sorry, P3, I still love you more, but I can put my bias aside to say that this fight is perfection. Now, this is about Maruki's boss fight, and only his boss fight. This isn't a full analysis of the 3rd semester, although you can see how much of the video is left and know that I have a lot to say. First, I'll cover the parallels between Joker and Maruki as they hold great symbolism for the fight itself. Both characters are fighting for freedom, but Maruki's freedom exists in an absence of pain, while Joker's freedom is free will, befitting the goals of a trickster. Joker fought to free people from tyrants, while Maruki peacefully enslaved humanity in a paradise. Maruki's palace design also perfectly contrasts Joker's. Joker's ensemble is mostly black, as it is symbolic of his rebellion being achieved through underhanded means, while Maruki is in all white, as his rebellion is peaceful and pure. Joker's splash of color lies in his red gloves that show that he is willing to fight for his beliefs, while Maruki's gloves are white, as they are unstained from conflict, which he wants to avoid. Even his hairstyle is symbolic, as it is no longer messy like Joker's when he supported the Phantom Thieves, but it is now slicked back, showing that he has taken control. Maruki's boss design? Okay, let it out.
Oh, no, 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 no.
His outfit is ridiculous and pompous, but it elicits the same type of reaction someone would have if a snack-serving hottie said they could end all suffering. The golden attire reflects Maruki's messiah complex, no not you, and how thinly veiled it is, like his white shawl. His mask also goes way over his head, showing that Maruki's beliefs are beyond his own self-interest. Unlike previous palace holders, Maruki isn't a heinous madman, you know, like Akechi.
This one just got betrayed by its teammate. Imagine how that feels.
But a gentle one. His desire to rewrite reality so that there's no pain is genuine. He only wants to help people, making it difficult to see him as evil. Maruki may be the antagonist, but he is not a villain. For if Maruki was truly a villain, he could simply erase Joker from existence, but Maruki cares about his well-being as well and grants him a fair fight. And it's the best fight in the game.
And I believe you called forth your power like this. Persona. My persona guides me.
Keep Your Faith is an incredible final boss theme that is flawless. Azathoth, being Maruki's persona, is perfect for him. In the Lovecraftian mythos, Azathoth is the blind idiot god, and reality exists solely in its dream. The battle against Takuto Maruki consists of 4 phases, with the first as the most difficult, yet rewarding. There are 5 targets in the first phase in Maruki, Azathoth, and the 3 tentacles you need to destroy to target Maruki. The tentacles each have special abilities and unique affinities. The Tentacle of Protection blocks all single target attacks to Maruki and is only weak to physical damage. The Tentacle of Healing heals Maruki each turn and is weak to Sai, Frey, Koha, and Eiga skills. The Tentacle of Assistance buffs and debuffs and is weak to Aji, Bufu, Zio, and Garu skills. All other elements are either repelled or nulled. Azathoth will bombard you with AoE skills like Memory Blow, which can inflict Forget, Raining Seeds a la Manhandler from Zelda, which is a physical AoE that attacks each party member 1 to 3 times, and an AoE phrase skill in Nuclear Crush. Maruki doesn't attack you in this phase, but he does regenerate the tentacles at the end of each turn. This fight is all about Baton Pass, as you utilize your own AoE attacks that hit a tentacle's weakness, pass it to the whole party, and wipe out the tentacles in order to get damage on Azathoth, who can't heal himself. Once either Maruki or Azathoth are at a quarter of their HP, Azathoth powers up and has close to 12,000 HP now, and attacks twice per turn with Eternal Radiance, an AoE Bless skill that can inflict Dizzy, and Raining Seeds to potentially cheese out a technical. The tentacle's affinities also change throughout this phase, and Maruki will occasionally restrict your actions by preventing you from doing something specific, such as using magic, going for support skills, or even shutting down healing for a turn. The fight ends when Maruki is defeated, but you can target Azathoth, who brings Maruki to 1 HP when it's defeated. However, you can also focus Maruki and try to chip at him with AoEs. There's no wrong approach to this fight, and I love how much freedom it gives you as it is reflective of Maruki's actions, and is just good boss design. Now, does Maruki give in after one loss? No, it's a JRPG final boss, which brings us to phase 2, where...
No, you can't be serious.
Maruki, he's done it. He evolved his persona.
Just like Joker, Maruki evolves his persona into Adam Kadmon, the original man in Kabbalah mysticism, which is the personification of the Savior. Throw away your mask plays, and the lyrics reflect Maruki's mental state in this moment. This song is his final plea to the Phantom Thieves, begging for them to stop fighting and accept the perfect lives he can give them. But they refuse. Maruki will use Adam Kadmon to attack the party while occasionally siphoning their HP, but it's not enough. Maruki falls again and, in a last-ditch effort, fuses with his persona to stop them, as...
And there comes a giant fish!
Standing on a building that is made out of the strongest material in existence, the Phantom Thieves endure Maruki's attacks until they block his final punch, and after each member gives an inspiring quote, Sumire's unique camera angle, and Akechi's best line in the game, Joker makes his way to the head to present the iconic image of Royal.
Checkmate.
After 3 phases, Morgana makes a Doraemon reference, and I hope you got some tissues nearby, because it's time for the tears. 2 weary souls unleash their pent-up frustrations on each other, and after a necessary scream... Maruki collapses and reaches towards the sky, defeated. I'm not a fan of the fights with Adam Kadmon, as they are just glorified cutscenes, but the strategy of the Azathoth phase, combined with the raw emotion of the fist fight, make me love this boss. It was the combined efforts of Atlus's impressive dev team, Lotus Juice's lyrics, Lin's incredible vocals, and Billy Kometz's performance in this role that make this my favorite boss of the game. This segment was so long that I could probably upload it as its own damn video and still get full monetization on it, but I felt Maruki deserved it. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. If you could tell me your favorite boss of the game, or hey, even the whole series if it wasn't in Royal, in the comments, that would help me out a ton. A like is good too, as if you've got this far, I assume you enjoyed my ramblings. Let me know if you want me to do more top 10s on Persona, since I think there's a lot I could do there. Anyways, since I don't live in Maruki's reality, I'm not a good editor or efficient at this yet, so I have to get to work on my next project. Something different, but I hope you'll enjoy it. Until then, peace.